team, here we are, chapter 10, more help from Ivan. In the last chapter we discovered that Jan has the silver sword and Ruth recognised it as being the one that her father Joseph had given to her mother Margaret for a birthday, I think. So let's find out what Ruth and Jan have a chat about. Chapter 10, more help from Ivan. While Bronia slept, Ruth and Jan sat up late that night talking. There was much she wanted to know about her father, and Jan told her the little that he remembered. Why had the boy not spoken earlier about him? Surely he had been told the children's name, but Jan had forgotten them. War does strange things to young people. Months of strain had blotted from his memory many of the details of his meeting with Joseph. But he remembered two things: the determination on Joseph's face and the name of the country he was bound for, Switzerland. Long after Jan fell asleep, Ruth lay awake thinking. Eric had been traced. Her father had escaped from prison and had been sent alive and free. How different must their future be now? But it was confusing. So much had happened so quickly. By morning, she had sorted things out and knew what she must do. She explained the situation to Bronia. "We must leave for Warsaw for good and go and find father," she said. "And mother too?" "Yes, mother too. We must go to Switzerland." "Where's that?" "Millions of miles away," said Jan, "and you'll have to walk without any shoes." "We'll have to walk some of the way," said Ruth, "but Ivan will give us shoes and we'll get lifts and lorries and trains as well. It won't be so bad now that spring's coming, and in summer it'll be lovely sleeping out under the stars. We'll go to Posen first. It's not much out of the way, and it's only 200 miles. We can beg for food as we go." "I'll steal it," said Jan. "You leave that to me." "I'm glad you want to come with us, Jan," said Ruth. "We'll need you to protect us." "I've got my knife," said Jan. "That will be very useful if you use it for what it's meant for," said Ruth. She went to see Ivan to explain matters and to ask him for shoes. "I'll bring you anything I can," he said, "but tie up that rooster next time I call." He called the following week with shoes for each of them. They saw him coming, and Ruth told Jan to tie up Jimpy. He didn't like doing it, but he obeyed. "Hello, you starving ragamuffin," said Ivan. "You've not grown much fatter. Why don't you put him in the pot?" "Put who in the pot?" said Ruth. Ivan jerked a thumb at Jimpy the rooster, who was nearly strangling himself to break free of the string. "He's my friend," said Jan indignantly. "I don't eat my friends." Ivan grunted. "I admit he's a bit stringy, not much gravy from him. If you put a flea through a mangle, you'll get more juice." Jan's fingers ran to his knife. Ivan noticed and said quickly, "Quite right, Jan. We don't put our friends in the pot, however hungry we are. You and I are friends, aren't we? And you wouldn't think of putting me in the pot. Here's some chocolate to make you fat like me." He put his hand in his pocket, but there was nothing there, and then he saw Jan was already eating the chocolate. "Oh, it's like that, is it?" said Ivan. "I'd brought you something else as well, made it myself, but I've changed my mind. I'll keep it." "I've got it," said Jan. From under his seat he produced a wooden treasure box, trim and neat, with the letters JAN burnt into the top. Ivan looked so astonished that Ruth couldn't help laughing, but she was angry at Jan. "If you don't say thank you, I'll break it," she said. "Thank you," snapped Jan. "You little animal," said Ruth. "It seems we shall have to leave you behind." "You can't stop me coming," said Jan. You'd better take those back with you, Ivan," said Ruth, and she handed him the shoes he had brought for Jan. "Please lock them up, and don't let them have him unless he apologizes." So Ivan took them away again. Now Jan had no shoes at all. The rags he had bound to his feet during the winter were worn out. He endured the cold and dirt and sharp stones underfoot for a whole week before he could bring himself to apologize. He went to the control post with cut feet, sobbing, truly repentant. He left a peace offering for Ivan, one of his treasures from his wooden box, one he prized very highly. It was a dead, shriveled up lizard, and he came back with his shoes. It is doubtful if Ivan valued the dead lizard as highly as Jan did. What happened to it after the boy left is Ivan's secret. Righto, questions today. Not too many questions today. So let's have a look at them. We've got, why hadn't Jan told Ruth and Brony about their father before? How did Ruth plan to get to Switzerland? How did Ivan help the children in their preparations for their journey to Switzerland? What do you think Ivan thinks of Jan? How do you know? And what do you think Ivan did with Jan's prized possession, the dead, shriveled up lizard? Now, really important for this one, especially question number 4, that you provide evidence from the story. We don't just want little 1 and 2 word answers. We want you to really think about what the question's asking you, what it said in the story. So have a good think about it and put in your answer with as much detail as you can. I've noticed over the last day or so the answers to our questions are getting a wee bit light. Your creative activity today, it comes out of our reading contract activities. So there's a couple there to choose from. Choose one of those if you want to and have a crack at it. And I look forward to seeing what you put together. Nice short chapter today. I'll see you tomorrow with chapter 11, The Road to Posen.